The Cits may be small, but its impact on the entire British theatrical scene has been massive. It's been a training ground and favourite performance area for some of Britain's finest theatrical talent.
We travelled all over the world, taking the best of our productions, representing the United Kingdom at Theatre of Nations festivals all over Europe and the Middle East, even South Africa, South America. So we exported that glory, that talent, that anarchy.
This theatre is very unpretentious. You're just as liable to, be talking about Coronation Street than you are about Racine.
Oh, don't be stupid. You never suggested.
This is my debut on the Cit stage. Yeah.
Both in the way the theatre is run and the kind of work that has been going on there for a considerable number of years is something that every actor, I think, not only in this country but around the world, knows about and would very much like to be a part of.
I played a duke in it, and then we went on tour with it and it went on for quite a long time. Then it was coming back here, and I'd managed to network Philip quite thoroughly by that point. And so he gave me a part in it because one of the other actors couldn't take part, and I played the part of the violinist, Charles Morel, and that's really how it started.
Dominic Hill took over the running of the Cits as artistic director, and one of the first things he did was send me an email saying, I would love you to be part of the process. I want to, in a sense, rekindle that energy and that excitement of the old days under Giles, and will you come back? And I said, you put a big smile on my face. The answer is yes. So we both decided on King Lear, and that was a fantastic experience for me to have not been on the stage for something like 20 years and then come back. But it was like slipping into an old coat, Angus. Slipping into an old overcoat that you know and love so well, and you feel comfortable in, you feel safe in, and you just think, yes, this is where I belong. And I remember I'd come in to talk to Dominic, and I literally hadn't been in the theatre for, as I say, about 20 years, and I walked in the stage door, and I walked into the back of the stage, and the sparks and the construction staff were kind of working away there, so the stage was fairly empty. And I just walked onto that stage, and I stood and looked out at the auditorium, and suddenly I was rippled with goosebumps from head to foot. Just, it was the most extraordinary buzz I've ever felt, and I thought, I'm home.
Actors love acting on that stage because they feel really close to the audience. And I think for audience members, it's a great place to sit and watch a show because, again, you feel part of the action. You feel connected to what's happening on stage.
For a lot of people, I think the pull of the Cits is quite great. You know, what we do, we're always reinventing ourselves on stage, and we're not your average theatre. And we've not got the average audience here either. And that's, I think, what's really nice about the theatre. There's so many different people and so many different walks of life work backstage, front of house, and our audience as well.
Lady Macbeth for me was a highlight because I think it was one of the most powerful productions I did in 10 years because we were very famous for Philip Prowse's extraordinary sets and design concepts, which literally took your breath away. Giles then decided to do Macbeth with no set, no costumes, nothing. Just a bare stage, right to the back wall, which was painted white. I had bare feet, I had a white calico rehearsal skirt and a white T-shirt, and that is how I played Macbeth. Now, again, it was an all-male production, and when you do Macbeth, you've got hundreds and hundreds of school kids coming, because they're studying it at school. And of course, in the first 2 minutes, they're just giggling away, thinking, this is not a woman, this is a man. After 2 minutes, they shut up and they listened right to the end of it.
For all their triumphs and successes, however, needless to say, things haven't always gone to plan for those that take to the stage.
The angle of the stage, so that the audience can see you, is on what we call a rake. And it's an incredible rake. You know, I mean, I could actually fall backwards, but it's an extraordinary sort of, and I remember having pushing a trolley on, and we had to kind of turn the wheels so that obviously it wouldn't just clear off down there. And of course, the little wheel turned one night, and were busy acting away and see it out the corner of our eye, and we all kind of moved towards this trolley that was about to end up in the first row there. So we caught it just at the last moment, but that was my realisation of what this stage was like to work on and perform on.
The first infamous Hamlet, which was the very first kind of like official production of the new company, the Citizens Company. It was all male, and I played Hamlet in a jockstrap. The image we had that Giles gave us was that Prince Charles, the next in line to the throne, has mental and physical disabilities. So how does the country, the royal family, the court, the parliament react to have the next in line to the throne? How are they going to cope with that? So I guess so that was the image. That was the image that we had for the production. Now, after the first night, the Scotsman printed the review of the production on its front page. The first time in the history of British newspapers a review of a theatre production was put in the very, very front page. And the headline was, "This gibbering idiot will surely close the Citizens." And the gibbering idiot was me. I remember at one point during the speech, what is this quintessence of dust? And we increased the rake, so the rake was double what it was. So it was a very, very steep rake. And it was like a black box within a black box. And I was thinking, what is this quintessence of dust? And I was leapfrogging down the stage. What is this quintessence of dust? Man, delight's not me. And woof, I went flying off the front stage into the audience. And there was a big woman sitting in the front row with her children, one on either side, looking up at me as this semi-naked, sweaty Hamlet came hurtling through the air and landed on her lap. She went, stood up and threw me back onto the stage again. So that was one of the highlights, Angus, as you can imagine. I'll never forget that. Never forget that.
Having originally opened in 1878 and being a spectator to the good times and the bad, the building had gone through minor changes but was in need of an update, which was why in 1989, as part of the development of Gobble Street by Strathclyde Regional Council, the modern atrium foyer was built. And then, in 1992, the theatre was able to add new stalls and circle studio venues. And then in 1997, with National Lottery funding, the big one, the SITS installed lifts backstage and front of house, as well as wheelchair access ramps around the building, a brand new stage door and a large-scale rehearsal room.
During the lottery funding time period, lottery funding was first announced, box offices and there was beautiful seats and everything was geared towards the audience coming through the door, and that's right. And then we could perform and we could put on the best we possibly could. But backstage in the majority of theatres are horrendous. And so you're kind of, the glamour is to come out onto the stage because it's certainly not backstage, it's not happening back there.
If you go down below the stage, the tidal waters of the River Clyde come in and go away again. If you're on stage at night in a heavy rainstorm, you get rained on your head and you hear the drumming on the metal roof.
I mean, the building itself is so extraordinary. A minute ago we were sitting here and we could hear seagulls landing. It was like as if we were in Largs. And, you know, it's in need of a renovation because being on this stage, if it's very, very wet, all of a sudden all the lights go out and, and then you do hear the seagulls, and as much as that adds an incredible atmosphere to it, sometimes you maybe don't want to hear seagulls.
So big changes ahead, but whatever happens in the renovations, the core of this building, the spirit of the SITS will be preserved. This beautiful Victorian auditorium with its intimate seating and its nearness to the stage and to the action will be maintained, making sure this stays the Citizens Theatre.
At the moment, you can walk past the SITS and there's a rather sort of forbidding revolving door that looks like it could be an airport.
I worked here not that long ago. I was rehearsing in the building and I was working with a Swedish lady and she was waiting to come to the SITS so she could bring this journalist from Sweden to come and be interviewed, and she said, I thought I would wait until I got to the SITS. And when she saw the green room where there was 4 sofas being held up by bricks, she thought, maybe I'll just take them to the hotel instead. And so we need all of that to be up to scratch, and I think we now deserve it, and I think the Gorbals deserves it. So it's important, I think, for lots of reasons that it goes through this renovation.
I think it's incredibly exciting what we've got planned for the organisation and for the building. We're going to create something that feels very welcoming, that feels very open, that will be a focal point for the local community. What we will have in the future is a glass frontage, and people will be able to see in, and then there'll be a cafe that's open all day. So I'm really excited about the fact that we can absolutely enhance that element of who we are in terms of being at the heart of this community.
This old dame is going to survive for another 100 years. Dear God in heaven, it has to. Got to. Why spend 16 million or whatever it's going to collapse in 10 years? No, I don't think the personality of this theatre will change. The infrastructure may change. It will be far more solid. I mean, we've got walls falling down. Yeah, as I say, we kind of underneath the stage, it can flood. When there's a heavy rain shower, you get rained upon when you're on stage, and you can be basking in the sunshine and you know, on the South Sea Island with palm trees with the rain's coming down on your head. So on a practical level, it will change. It will make it watertight and secure.
The Gorbals is world renowned, first of all for the industrialisation that brought its dense population of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, and then for the poverty, the deprivation, even the gang warfare when that industrialisation collapsed. But through it all survived this, surviving depopulation, overpopulation, and even a couple of world wars, the Citizens Theatre right at the heart of it. There's a whole new Gorbals regeneration in the pipeline at the moment, and with this brand new refit, it's bound to stay there. Taking its history into the future, the Citizens Theatre still right at the heart of it all.